In this week's episode, we sit down with Chad Clark and Bryan McCalin, and we talk a little bit about leadership, followership, coaching, teaching, Highland Games, and just basically having fun. I got to meet Bryan through Chad, and really, I don't ever meet like really bad people anymore. I just meet amazing humans, and I'm a very, very lucky person. And so because of that, I don't want to be greedy, and I want to share with all of our listeners out there just how great these folks are. Every week I'm getting to do, more and more trips and going to see all these awesome people and talk to them and share this with you guys. So I really hope that you enjoy it. And leave us a review. Check us out on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, all under H2O Cast. So check us out. Love to hear you guys' feedback. I've only had positive stuff come out of this, so I'm only going to put positive stuff into it. So I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast.
So we're sitting here with my buddy Chad Clark. He's been on the podcast once before. He'll be on at least 3,000 or 4,000 more times, just because he's got that great presence and that great voice. So Chad, take her away.
All right, Dave. As always, man, thanks for having me on. I'd be remiss if I didn't also say, thank you for all that you do for string sports and giving guys like me and Bryan here a platform, to speak on. Kind of what you said. I'll be on this podcast a lot, and I enjoy just being me and talking, obviously. But today, I got my good buddy Bryan McCalin on. So you may or may not know that name. Bryan, in my opinion, is a bit of an unsung hero in the world of Highland Games. I was very fortunate enough here recently. I've known Bryan for a bunch of years. And thankfully for Bryan, he was able to get out of Northern Virginia, which is a complete hellhole.
Thank God. I got out in 2013, just saying.
When I go up there, I'm sorry to all my Northern Virginia friends. I'm like, get me the hell out of here. I can't get out soon enough. But in the end, ultimately, Northern Virginia's loss is the Roanoke Valley's gain. Bryan, I can't tell you how many athletes he's coached in the Highland Games, to pro levels, to Masters World Championships. And again, we have him right here in the Roanoke Valley. He's helping me out, make athletes here much better, which is both him and I, we're on the same page. All we want to do is make the sport better, make athletes better, promote the sport, in this case being Highland Games. So he's like a treasure to have here. Also, as an added bonus, I get him to help me out with Green Hill Highland Games, which is the event come up on August 24th that I run. And also, the bonus plan is not only get Bryan's help, but behind every great man is a great woman. And his wife, Trish, is an absolute saint. I can never say enough good things about her as well. And no, she's not in the room, Dave. This is totally unprompted.
She's not in earshot. I don't know if you know.
She's
you
not
kiss up that much.
She's not even around. But Trish is an absolute saint. And like you said, the bonus of getting Bryan to help me out was also, hey, now Trish is helping us out. So again, I can never thank these two enough for their willingness that they've shown to jump in, help out. Trish is working a lot with a lot of local musicians as far as getting them to come out and be a part of the event. Bryan will be doing all that he can. He's done a lot of coordinating with vendors and clans and things like that for me. So again, a lifesaver. And anyway, I'm just very thankful to have him here, be a part of the Valley, be a part of the event. And I'm going to go and turn over to him and let him tell a little bit of his story, because it's a great story. And again, I can't tell you how many athletes, performance-wise, he's helped over the years in the sport of Highland Games. So, and again, he's an unsung hero in the sport, in my opinion. And one thing I've always wanted to do was kind of shed light on what others have done. So unfortunately, too many people fly under the radar in things these days. And these are people that should be in the spotlight because they do things for the right reasons. There is no financial gain or financial reward or anything like that. It's just when Bryan's doing something, it's always for the right reasons. And people like that in the sport, to me, need to be brought more to the forefront, because a lot of times their stories kind of sit in the background, and to me that's not right. Because these are what make sports go. I mean, it's really grassroots at its finest, and that's the people I look up to. So on that, I'll turn it over to Bryan.
Yeah, I'm going to second your opinion of my wife. By the way, she's small enough that you wouldn't know if she was in the room right now anyway. But yeah, so I got started in the Highland Games. God, it's been about 23 years ago. And I went to the Alexandria, the Virginia Scottish Games, and saw these big guys and not so big guys all throwing, helping each other out, coaching. I was like looking for the next thing. You know, when you've been lifting for a while, if you don't have a goal, then your workouts are going to suffer. You need to have some sort of competitive thing that you're really striving for. So I thought Highland Games would be the thing. I learned pretty quick I was never going to be the strongest guy out there. So like we talked, you know, before the podcast, is were you born to it, or is it a skill you had to build? And it really, I learned pretty quickly is I was never going to be the strongest guy. So I had to focus on the technique. And the biggest struggle when I started, first of all, there was only one class. There was never heavyweight, lightweight. There weren't women, there weren't masters, anything like that. And we were lucky if we had 15 people show up. And trying to get somebody who could coach you or help teach you the technique or anything like that was pretty scanty. I got the VP production videotapes, or back at VHS back in the day. Watched those, but it took 9 months before I felt like I understood the events well enough that I could go out and compete and not hurt other people. You know, whether I got hurt or not was still in question, but I really wanted to, you know, learn the events well enough that I wouldn't be a danger to others, and, you know, I would have a decent showing. And I had a couple of people with me who were learning the events together, but it was a collective trying to figure things out. None of us had a throwing background. We just were, you know, fairly strong people who wanted to do something different. And after about 9 months of that and competing, you know, I did okay, middle of the pack, and really just loved it. And from there, I started working with other people to train together, and still we were all feeling our way through it. And at every competition, what you'll find with the Highland Games is everybody's always willing to help. They really want to help you out, give you advice, give you tips and ideas. And I started writing a lot of this stuff down. And then I was able to, you know, lucky enough to meet online Coach Mack, Coach McKay from Morehead State College, great throws coach, and bring him out. And we did a clinic. And then with that, I met Ryan Vieira, who to me still is top of the heap, you know, over history. 5 times world champion, 5 times on the podium, and competing through some serious back injuries and other things. And yet, total class act. So I had him out 3 or 4 times for clinics as well. And really, the passion I got into was that so many people wanting to learn the games, and I had the implements, I had the space, we had a field across the street, and having people come over to the house every Saturday, and then it started to be every Tuesday and Saturday, then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, as often as we could, is have people training. And like Chad said, I've been lucky to coach people who are pros, world champions, masters world champions, and just to be able to share the love of the sport. And you know, you've had Beaufait on here. He was one of my early guys to come out and start training. He was like 19, I think, when he started training. And be able just to share the time with the guys and you know, imbuing them that same love of this sport, which, if anything, is a crazy sport, because it's you know, you train for hours and hours and hours, and you get 3 shots at each event to hit your marks and hit the perfect throw. And you know, it doesn't happen all the time. And learning the psychology of how to recover from that, and how to then go on and get better every time. So it was, I just started coaching, and as well as competing. And as time went on, we got to the point where we called ourselves the Vienna Meathead Crew, the VMC, and our slogan was just one more. Every time someone would get to a point where they're almost ready to have a breakthrough, and everyone else is ready to stop throwing that event, and they're like, come on, just one more. And so we'd all throw one more time. And we got up to about 15, 16 people at a time practicing. And the field was big enough, we would have 2 different events sometimes going on simultaneously. And so, I was spreading my time between coaching and throwing, but I also had enough good throwers who I was able to ask, and they were happy to jump in, is to help coach as well. So we really were able to grow the Mid-Atlantic Highland Games group significantly. So that's kind of the background of my story. And
Well, with your coaching you started doing, you came in 23 years ago, and then you started coaching, soon thereafter.
yeah, about 2 years
About 2 years in, was there any kind of higher level education that was helping you to be a better coach? Was there any NASM? Was there strength conditioning coaches? Was there anything else that was going on in your life that was helping you to be a better coach? Or was this just you were out there, you could see it, you had the magic eye to put it together, and then you could help people figure out what was wrong?
It was the latter. I actually, my degree is in Slavic studies, which of course means I went into computers.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's usually how it goes.
absolutely. So no, I read a lot. I have no problem, being a little, ballsy and asking people questions online or getting their email and doing extended questions. I remember I had a good long chat with Carl Dodge online, and he was one of the ones that I thought really helped me in coaching, because he said something funny and people ran with his kind of offhand comment was as if it was gospel. He said, "I don't squat to train for the Highland Games. I don't do squats." And then, if you would ask him, "Why is that?" He goes, "Well, I weigh 320 pounds and I can squat double my body weight in any given day for a set of 10. I don't need to get stronger. I need to get faster." And I was like, aha. So what you're saying is that depending on how strong you are, you may be strong enough, but you need to get faster. He goes, yeah, if you're strong enough, you need to be faster. If you're fast enough, you probably need to be stronger. That's so, one fun thing about the Highland Games is not just pure strength, it's also speed, and there's also the technique. So he talked a lot about how he did plyometrics, because his big thing was, while he had all the strength in the world, he needed to be faster and more agile. So he did a lot of agility drills. He did a lot of plyometric drills for his legs, and that helped him with a lot of the different events. And if you go back to the old tapes, Carl Dodge, he was a beast. Quadzilla was his nickname, 34-inch quads, so big guy, super strong, and that really kind of hit home. And the other thing we started talking about is, he's found is that people will take a comment like he would make where he doesn't squat for the Highland Games. He doesn't do that for training, and take that as gospel, and then they go and proliferate that throughout the community as if, well, Carl Dodge doesn't do it, therefore no one should do it. Suddenly, people run with that and they think that's it. Well, part of the discussion we had was that with everybody, you have to modify the training to where they are in their strength, their conditioning, their capability, their technique, how technically savvy are they, and look at modifying that. And then the other thing is I took that another step further. I'm sorry if I'm babbling here. But when you look at technique, everyone says there's a certain way to do, my favorite's the sheaf. There's whole bunch of different ways to do the sheaf, but you go to any Highland Games and people say you need to do the check mark, or you need to do this, you need to do that. There really is no one technique that's best, but there is one technique that's best for you. Yep. So understanding, that was a big thing I kind of went on a quest in a lot of these different events, is understanding what was the best technique depending on your body shape, your strength, your speed, and all that, and applying what was going to be the best technique to that person. So, another example would be how to hold the stone. So some people, their upper arm and their lower arm are exactly, well, I'm talking about the Highland Game stone, not an Atlas stone. So some people, their upper arm and their lower arm, like me, are exactly the same length. So I can hold the stone on my body confidently in a certain spot. Other people, their lower arm is much longer than their upper arm. There's a lot of people like that. So they need to lower where they tuck it down, less behind the ear and more down towards the mastoid and their carotid, and they push from there. Because otherwise, to get it out from behind their ear, they have to drop their elbow, as they go to put, and as soon as you drop your elbow, you've lost all your power.
Have you seen that show on the History Channel, Strongest Man in History?
I have.
Did you see the one last week where they were doing the Scottish Games?
It was one I missed.
Oh, you might want to watch that.
I do.
And try to see Nick Best grab a stone and put it close to his head so he can throw it. And he's about a foot away. And he's like, no. There we go. It's fine.
Yeah.
And apparently Shaw beat the Denny record by, it's what, 31 feet? He got like 34, 35 feet.
Wow.
With the, how heavy is that stone?
On the Denny's?
No, not the Denny stone itself, but it was Denny's record because he apparently has 8,000 records or something.
Yeah.
But he got like 34 feet, and that thing weighed like 29 pounds or something.
Yeah. The Braemars tend to be
the Braemar,
anywhere between 25 and 30 pounds, and I think that one's close to 30.
And I think they had the official guys because they were at like the. You guys are gonna know way more about this than I am, but they were at like the Madison Square Garden of Highland Games.
Inverness. Well, probably Inverness games that have a brick wall around it with stands.
Yeah, there were stands inside and everything. It looked really, really nice. But they were like, "This is the oldest place ever."
I haven't seen it yet. When it all comes out, I'm just gonna binge watch the whole thing from start to finish. So that was my plan on that.
Oh, okay. Well, you might hate Robert Oberst more and more as it goes, because I know I do. And every time I see him, I hate him a little more.
Can I chime in on something real quick?
Absolutely.
On Brian's points. So, with everything Brian just said, there's a couple points that I feel like people should know. One, he mentioned Carl Dodge. To me, kind of like unsung heroes in the sport. I think if you're an athlete today, learn about all the athletes from the past. These guys were the guys that paved the way for success in the sports that we have today. Brian mentioned VP Productions. That was Vieira Pauly Productions. Yep. A lot of us at that time, there was no YouTube. There wasn't all these nice things that people have today to really shorten the learning curve. So if you wanted that information, you really had to work and get out there to obtain it. At the time, really all we had was, VP Productions videos. I remember like the old Larry Satchwell video, yep. the old VHS tape, articles that Milo, Randall Stronson from Iron Mind, Milo Strength Journal, like the whole, I remember like the Chief, Jim McGoldrick, he did all those series of articles. There was always some type of article by Francis Brebner. And I think today's athletes really missed out on that. To me, that was a huge part of the sport, not just competing, but also learning about these other athletes, learning their stories. The quest for knowledge and knowing about the history of the sport. And to me, if you're being a strength athlete, all these sports have these really amazingly great histories. And to me, if you don't learn the history of it, about who paved the way, then that's a disservice. The other point I wanted to make out was the fact that when you're talking about Brian being a coach, there's lots of people out there that can be coaches, and there's tons of knowledgeable people out there. In my opinion, the thing that set Brian apart is the fact that he's able to not only give you the knowledge that you need to be better, but to give it to you in a way that you can learn it and it click. Some people can tell you 9 million type of things, but it's never going to click with you because their teaching style or coaching style. And I've had Brian down here in Roanoke to help local athletes put on clinics and stuff before. And that's the great part of it, is you see somebody that can give you this great knowledge and everybody can learn from it. It's simple. He can take something so totally, completely complex and just give it to you in a few simple cues, and you're just like, bam, that's it. And to me, that's the ability that separates a lot of coaches and stuff. And it's a rare trait. It's hard to find. And when you do, it's like, wow, man. It's like, it really is a gift. But that was what I want to chime in. It was the three things. Learn your history. Things like that. It's just, to me, those are important aspects. And when you find somebody like Brian, I know there's lots of other people very similar to Brian around the country that do so much stuff. Search those people out, man. There's so many people that you can learn from. And if you're an athlete, never stop learning. Always, continue to better yourself, better others, better the sport. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We just want to see stuff continue to get pushed further and further. 20 years ago, no one thought, they'd be cracking 50-foot or knocking on the door 100 foot in the weights for distance.
No. Francis Brebner had a world record for lightweight, and that was I think 94.10 or 93.10, and that was just considered just unbelievably immense as far as a distance goes. And the idea that someone would be going 5 feet further than that is ridiculous. And also, weight for height. When Matt Sanford cleared 18.5 feet with a stand at Pleasanton with the knockover bar, and the idea that we're throwing now 2 feet higher than that. I mean, when Matt Sanford cleared it, it was amazing and world record and just phenomenal. And then now we're 2 feet beyond that.
And Matt Sanford is a name that a lot of people nowadays would not know.
Yeah.
But again, learn from these legends. Go back, YouTube old Matt Sanford videos. Your mind will be blown at how great the guy was.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, what's great about when you look at a Carl Dodge, a Matt Sanford, a Ryan Vieira, each of them, or the Aiken brothers from Scotland, each of them have a different body type, and each of them have different strengths. In certain events, they do better than others. But like in the hammers, you watch Matt Sanford, Ryan Vieira, and the Aiken brothers throw the hammer, Stephen King. They each have
Alistair Gunn.
Oh, yeah. The giant killer. I mean, these guys each had to adapt the technique to themselves because of physical capabilities or limitations. Alistair Gunn is not a tall man, but he made himself tall in a hammer by his flexibility, his ability to bend, I swear to God, at 90 degrees at the hips, side to side with the hammer. If you get to see some old video of him and just how he can lay himself out. But then you go to, okay, well, that's them. Are there things of this I can learn and take on, or things of this that are just beyond my ability? Well, the only way you can find out is try, and try a lot. But it's, again, the great thing about YouTube is so many videos out there. The downside, in my view, is that you get it's data without understanding the information of the value. If you can't look at it and understand, why did Matt Sanford do 3 slow spins to the right and then rip it, and why did Alistair Gunn lay out like he did with just amazing flexibility? If you don't understand the differences and why they did that, you can have a hard time applying it. And that's where I think, like you said, find somebody in your area that is a good coach who can tell you, give you advice and tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and also things to focus on. And I think that the biggest issue that people have is they don't learn the history of the sport. There's a little fun fact is that in about 86, the sheaf toss world record was about 21 feet because no one did the flick like is done now. And Alistair Gunn created the flick, and now we see people throwing not just 16-pound bags, because that's what the pros were throwing then for the push technique or punch, and now they're doing the flick, and we're approaching with the 20-pound bag approaching 40 feet. I mean, just.
Yeah, I saw that when I was at Glasgow, sitting there with KO, who will be on next week. Yeah, they were almost at 40 feet, just like fucking around, just having a good time. And I'm looking at everything, and I go, well, put every bar at 40 feet. Let's just see that 18-pound weight. Let's throw that to 40 feet, too. Yeah. We'll start at 35 and see how it goes.
And as a reminder to everybody, everyone loves sheaf. It's science. It really is. Everyone loves sheaf. I know there's a lot of haters out there, but they're just haters. In honesty, everyone loves sheaf.
It's a big thing that goes way up over a bar. It looks really cool. It looks better than when they throw the small weight. Because Highland Games has not been my thing. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. I went to shows. I'm trying to get into it, and it's hard for me. It really is to find that interest and that groove. If you're not a part of it, it's a hard group to get into. But as Chad told me earlier today, nope, those are the nicest guys in the entire world, nicer than strongman. And I said, bullshit. They're not nice to me. So they're not nice to the strongman. But
all right, Dave, hold on. It's 1 and 1A, okay, on Strongman Highland Games athletes. That'll always be my two loves. So you got 1 and 1A. So
1 and 1A. That's what
they're exactly. It's the greatest people in the world of sports. I firmly believe that, and that's why no matter what I do in life, I always want to be a part of the two. So, it's amazing how different, but yet how similar they are. as far as welcoming and like the whole family type thing. You always say, strong man's family. And that's what it feels like to me too, in the years I've been involved in it. But, Highland Games was my original family. And, no matter what I do in life, I keep going back to these two sports. And the reason is just the people. I mean, it is like family and stuff. That's why I'm friends with, you and friends with Bryan and all these other great people. But, both sports, far surpass anything I'd ever been involved with in the terms of friendliness, camaraderie, family atmosphere and stuff, So we gotta say that it's 1 and 1A. You can't leave me hanging like that, man.
Well, I know that's where you started, so that's kind of the key point there. But I want to go back and caveat off the points that you made. As far as learning the history, the information's there. People have to know how to find it, where to find it, why to find it. And I think the coaching has to be there for them to say, okay, look, your homework for tonight is to go home and you're going to watch these 6 videos that you can pull up on YouTube. You can pull them up on your phone in the car. I don't care. But you need to go and watch these videos. That needs to be part of their homework, other than just, all right, you're going to squat today. You're going to do this today. You're going to do that. And then also, for what this whole podcast is about, of be good or be good at it. What Bryan just explained is he is good at being a coach. He had to be good at it to be an athlete. So coaching sometimes comes naturally for some folks. For you, it did. You were able to look at somebody, identify their weakness, and then translate it back to them. There's oftentimes, I feel that I'm a great coach because I like to pat myself on the back, and that's what I do. I've trained some world champions. It's been great. However, there are times when athletes don't get what I'm trying to tell them. And I will go find another coach, explain it to them the way I want it, and then have them translate into a better way. Because I don't do touchy-feely, coddle, well, honey, it's going to be okay. Everything's, no, fuck that. Don't suck. That's my way of going about it. So as a coach who's out there too, to kind of help them out, you might be a good coach, but you might not be a good communicator, and that's a problem. So you need to be able to find another coach who you can go talk to and say, hey, look, this is what I've got going on. How can I translate this to this athlete? This is the problem. How can I fix that? And there's other coaches that will help you with that. I've got a guy in my home gym in Bowling Green named Stephen Burba. We agree on, I'd say, probably 97% of everything that we both do as far as coaching and doing stuff. And I will go to him and I'll say, hey, this is outside of my 3%. Can you do this? I was training my significant other at the time, and I was like, look, man, I just need you to tell her to do this. He was like, okay. He went and told her exactly verbatim every single word that I said. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And with me, it was, no, fuck you, I can't stand you, wait till we get home. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to train any significant others anymore. This ain't going to work, because the coaching is different. So I think it's vitally important that people know coaches need coaches too. And
Absolutely.
There's always something else you can learn. Bryan, you've been very lucky in that you've been able to communicate with all your athletes each time, and be able to find that gray area and fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say every single athlete that I've coached, there are times when I've said something 4 or 5 different ways and it's still not getting through. And then someone I've got over practicing, here's what I'm trying to say, and they'll say it slightly different and suddenly it clicks. And that's really what it's about. It's you can sit there sometimes and, like, I have a lot of different ways to say what I'm trying to say, and some of it depends on the background of the individual. The more throwing background they have, I could say you're blocking yourself or you're not posting up, something like that. And if you got a throwing background, that makes sense. If you don't,
or if you play basketball, you got to post up and you got to go to the top of the key and
right. Whereas if you don't have that throwing background, it's not going to make sense. So, and again, you can be the greatest coach in the world, and like you said, communication is key. But there are plenty of times where I'm sitting there trying to communicate something, and I'll say it 4 or 5 different ways over a period of weeks, and it's just not clicking. And then someone will say, "Oh, you need to do this," and I won't know what they say, or maybe it's just different, same words coming out of someone else's mouth. It suddenly clicks with them, and then they're able to do it. And it's like, okay, perfect. I'm going to write that down. That phrase worked with you, so I need to use that with some other people maybe, or I need to use something along those lines for a different issue that you're having. So And I think also understanding the background people have. If you're dealing with military and with police, law enforcement, and you're trying to get them to relax and not be so spastic or spasmodic when they're doing the cast, you can say is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You need to slow down, you need to calm down, you need to focus on being smooth. And if you say that slow is smooth, smooth is fast, anyone who's ever learned to clear a room or anything, that makes 100% sense, and it'll click with them, and they can then start thinking about that when they do it. So I think that's also a big thing if you're coaching, is trying to figure out how people think, either what they do for a living or what they want to do for a living, whatever. But just some of their educational background too has a lot to do with how you communicate with people. But as you said, excuse me, you can sit there and say this, what's technically perfect 100 different ways, and then it's not going to get through to the athlete you're trying to coach. And someone else, and if you can go ask someone else, hey, here's what I'm trying to get this person to do, can you help me out? And they can come up with the perfect phrase. I think coaches need to swallow any sort of pride they have in acting like they have to be the center of that person getting better. What's really is the athlete has to be a center of it all in them getting better. Yep. So you just don't worry about who is the one who says the words, as long as the athlete gets better.
That's the truth.
You speak on your military background just a little bit there. At what point when did you join? How long did you serve? And how much of that crossed over into Highland Games?
So I joined in 81, served for just shy of 6 years, got injured and ended up getting out. None of it. I was a military intelligence type, so absolutely nothing to do with that. However, been through a fair amount of different training at the time, and then I stayed in Intel for a while, and then worked at IT in the with military folks. So, my military background really didn't play into it too much, and it's just being around military people often enough and talking with them. And my buddy Drew Kirchen lived with us for a while when he was competing, and we talk a lot. You pick up a lot of things when you talk to people if you listen, and I think that's really more of where that comes from.
Because personally, I feel like my military experience gave me much more of a better eye as far as dealing with different kinds of people. Because I came from backwoods Kentucky. I think we had one black guy in my school, like for 12 years that I was there, and that was it. So when I got to the military, my eyes were open quite a bit.
Well,
as far as different backgrounds, how people come up, the right way to talk to them, the wrong way to approach them, and dealing with them as being a supervisor. That opened my eyes quite a bit, and that translated very well over to coaching and made it a lot easier to deal with, because I will actually try to figure out, okay, what's wrong with this person first before I just try to address little problems.
Right.
I don't want to put Band-Aids on bullet holes. Let's get the bullets out.
Yeah.
Let's sew the wound up and then move on.
No, actually, it's a great point. I hadn't even thought about it so much, but I come from a small town in West Virginia, and there were no black people in my high school, and then my basic training squad, 17 people, and there were myself and 4 other white dudes, Hispanics, Asians, African Americans. Some didn't speak any English because they had just come here. One Cuban guy didn't speak any, and so learning how to communicate with them. I was a squad leader, and learning how to communicate with everyone and understand their mindset, their motivation. Certainly when I went on and was over in Germany being team chief and squad leader, you learn, like you said, it's what's going on with the person. You could have someone who normally is the most squared away troop in the world, and suddenly they're not acting like they normally do. You have to sit there and figure out what's going on, because it's usually, you're dealing with any individual, whether you're coaching or just hanging out with them, you're dealing with about 5 to 10% of their life, and it's the other 90% that can be impacting what they're dealing with right there. It's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that, but and being an NCO, it is you train people, and you keep an eye out on folks and looking at things like that. And but for me with the Highland Games, it was always I think the biggest thing is just being frustrated, not knowing the technique and having to learn it. And I'm an over analytical person, so I take what seems like a simple movement of cast, spin, throw, or double spin, and I'm throwing, and broke it down into a lot of different piece parts, and then having to learn each of those piece parts and master each one. And then what I find, with people is if you break it down like that, it becomes so much simpler than I'm going to have you take this 56-pound weight in one hand and spin around twice, stay inside a 9-foot long by 4.5-foot wide box, and throw it as far as you can. Go. It's pretty impossible for anyone to pick it up like that. Even Brian Oldfield had to learn how to do a standing throw at the shot put at some point when he was in high school. And so, like you said, I think from that perspective, military did have a bigger impact. I hadn't thought about it like that, but you're right. You do learn to work with people of various backgrounds, pretty varied in the military, which is it's a lot of great side of that. Yeah.
So you came into Highland Games 23 years ago.
Yep.
So I'm doing the math in my head, but you joined the military in 81. So you were 18 in 81. 19 years old. Yeah, 19. And you did 6. So they put you at 26 when you got out. 25, 26. So you didn't start doing Highland Games until you were 35?
Yeah.
That seems kind of late.
Yeah.
Is that not like really close to master's class, like when you're starting?
Well, again, there was no master's class.
That's true. Yeah, there was no master's.
So it was, I'm going to be out there throwing with everybody else, regardless of age, regardless of size, capability, or anything like that. And that was kind of the fun part of the Highland Games, is you had them anywhere from John Paul Wright was like about 5'8", 5'9", guy could throw a hammer like nobody's business. And then you had Jumbo, Dave McClelland. When you called Jumbo in the Highland Games, you're pretty big, 6'7", about 320. Sprout, John Campbell, he was about 5'6", and probably weighs about $140, maybe.
So huge guy.
Yeah,
That's
massive.
That's in his
massive.
tall shoes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I love you,
No,
John.
and I got a great picture of his nickname is Sprout, by the way, of Sprout and Jumbo next to each other. And it kind of, to me, epitomized what was great about the games when I first started is there's no breaking things down by weight or anything like that. It was just everyone was lumped together. So, yeah, 35 was old. My kids were my daughter had just been born. So, of course, I went into the Highland Games. Sounds like a great time to get a hobby.
Yeah.
Get out of the house. Both my kids have been nursed in the athlete's tent at the field, and they've been around it, their whole life. My daughter did dance and fiddle, but it was older. It was a point in my life where, at about 35, you've been working out for a while and everything else, and if you don't, like I said, if you don't have that goal, you don't have that competitive event to do, you're going to start losing it. If you're that person who gets up every day and runs, and you don't have a half marathon or even just a 5K or 10K to train for, how hard are you going to run, and how long are you going to run, and how long are you going to keep that up? At a certain point, it fades. And I think like mid-30s for me was going to be fading pretty quick if I didn't do something. So, I went into Highland Games and learned just how strong I wasn't. Because that 56 will own you when you try and spin around with it the first time.
I'm trying to think of most 56-year-olds that I know, and I don't think they can turn around, much less spin around.
Yeah.
So, Chad, you're almost in that club.
Yeah.
I'll be 47 this month, man. I got plenty of time, man.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the turnaround versus spin around. I don't doubt you can spin, but turning, I don't know. It might not happen.
I'm working on my ability.
Yeah. No, what's a funny thing about the games now is I was talking to amateur athlete, just turned 40. I said, so you're going to start throwing with the Masters now? And he goes, you crazy? They're better than the amateurs.
Well, that would be Randy Sylvester.
I was not going to call him out.
Oh, good. I love Randy. Randy's such a good dude.
Yeah.
Still, to this day, the hardest Moss match I ever had in my entire life was against Randy Sylvester.
Nice.
That match went on for what felt like an eternity. But weren't you judging that one?
Yeah.
I think there was supposed to be a 2-minute time limit on it, and he lost his watch. because I felt like we pulled for decades.
Hey, let me tell you the beauty of Randy Sylvester, though. First of all, I think the world of Randy. He's been one of my great friends for years and years. And, we used to all train at the same gym and stuff together. And Randy for years helped me at Green Hill. Matter of fact, let me rephrase that. Randy has always helped me out at every event I've ever done. He's somebody I always depended on. I'm very, very thankful for our friendship. He's somebody I can say, hey, Randy, can you help me with this? And he's that kind of friend. And then one year, after helping at Green Hill for a couple of years, I said, Randy, you gonna help me this year? He's like, Chad, I really want to try my hand at this Highland Games thing and throwing. I was like, okay. It's like, that's cool, dude. I was like, I understand. It's like, give it a shot. Randy, it turns out, was the world's greatest sandbagger because who knew he had all this athletic talent? He comes out in his first games, and I'm like, where'd this guy come from? I was like, I haven't seen this type of athleticism, the whole time I've known him. But, he did the games, he came out, and the bug completely bit him. And anybody that's done it knows when the bug bites, it bites hard. So now Randy's doing probably, I don't know, 10, 12 or more games a year. He's completely just in love with it. He's a great ambassador for the sport. He travels with it all the time. And it's everything you want to see another athlete be. He's all the time watching videos, getting other people involved. I know he goes over here and trains with Bryan all the time. Again, he's everything you like about the sport. It's like, I wish more people had that type of ethic, not just the work ethic to, hey, put in the work and be better, but just his genuine love of the sport. He was just the most natural fit, and honestly, I never really saw it coming. But I'm so happy that it did, because he's just another great athlete that we have right here in town that can help others out and stuff. So, but much love to Randy. I know he'll get a chill trip out and listen to this, but in my opinion, Randy really is the pride of Roanoke. So
he is the pride of Roanoke. Make sure we get that phrase that coined out and get him a bumper sticker.
That'd be the phrase that pays.
That's the phrase that pays. He is the pride of Roanoke. Okay. Good.
That tattoo in the back of his neck.
Yeah, exactly.
I will pay for that tattoo. I will do it. There's a couple of really good tattoo artists here in Roanoke and Martinsville that I know. Yep. And, I will pay for that tattoo. Randy, if you're listening to this right now, I will pay for that tattoo. I'm just saying. So as we move on through here, let's get a little bit more background on Chad and the other fun things that you've done in your life. So before we found out that you used to be an amateur skateboarder / pro skateboarder / everything skateboarding. After that, and you got back into a lifting world and dealing with other stuff, what was it about Highland Games that said, man, I need to go wear a skirt?
Man?
It's only a skirt when you wear it.
Yeah. For us men folk, Dave, it's a kilt.
To be fair, I have several, and I do wear them. I think they're super comfortable. I wear them at all my strongman shows because it's just easier to deal with. But, when you're starting out and you go tell all your friends, hey, I'm going to go do Highland Games. They're like, what's that? Oh, well, it's the Scottish Highland Games where they, they do the cabers, they're throwing the weights, they're doing all the stuff. You're trying to explain it to them. They're like, wait a minute. Is that where they wear the dresses? Is that
it's a kilt,
people?
Dave.
But I'm quoting the people that don't know. That's what I'm doing here. Come on. Work with me, Chad. Work with me.
So I can give you the 3 defining factors that maybe wanted to start wearing a kilt. One of them, and I'm sure Bryan feels exactly the same way. And much like Bryan, I didn't get into string sports until I was 33. And I think I told you last time I was on, that was my biggest regret in life. I wish I'd given anything if I'd gotten started earlier. But the 3 things that got me, that were finally the motivating factors, were: 1, there's a TV show that used to air late night on ESPN called Ultimate Heavy Athletics. And I know, Bryan, I'm sure that may or may not have been some of your first introduction to it, but I think for a lot of us of this age and time period, that was where we got to see guys, just like Bryan mentioned, like Paul Ferenczi, Ryan Vieira, Matt Sanford,
Carl Dodge,
Francis
Francis Brebner, Stephen King,
Steve Pulcinella.
Steve Pulcinella.
One of the greatest personalities in all of sports. We love Stevie P. I think the guy's great. He should have his own podcast, by the way.
He might. I don't know. I feel like everybody's got a podcast now. I mean, everybody's got a podcast. So this show, it aired on ESPN late at night, similar to like World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Once in a blue moon on Christmas when there was nothing else playing.
Yep.
What was this show consistent of? Was it just Highland Games?
It was just Highland Games footage from different competitions, and just
really,
yeah.
It was a combination of things. So seeing that, and then reading the old Milo strength journals, that influenced. God knows, if it influenced me, I'm sure it's just fucking influenced generation after generation of lifter, of strength athletes, because that was like a great gateway drug. You know, it's like you get your Milo prescription in the mail, you know, and it's kind of like the gateway drug into this whole amazing world of strength. You know, not only did it introduce me to Highland Games, but, you know, about traditional stone lifting and basket stone lifting, Olympic weightlifting, arm wrestling. The list goes on and on. You know, if you get a chance, you know, if you see them for sale, go back and buy them all. The third thing was,
I think they've got them all online now.
They probably do.
I think they're all downloadable now.
That's beautiful.
And you know what? I recommend anybody to go out there, read them. You'll be fascinated. It's just, again, you can cover all your bases just on Milo magazine.
Yeah, Randall's a hell of a writer. I mean, I'll even go back and read Super Squats from time to time, just motivation to want to squat again. And that was written in what, 89?
Well, they had so many great writers though. It was Randall's publication, but again, the number of writers that he's had over the years is just, I mean, it's a who's list of the strength world. And the other contributing factor was the fact that I had two good friends at the time. I'd been doing some powerlifting meets, and they were throwers, and that was my good friend Jason Weiner and my friend Billy Schrader. And Billy Schrader to me is not only one of my good friends, but he's probably one of the most important individuals that I ever met in my life. Not only did he get me into Highland Games,
besides me, of course.
Well, that goes without saying, Dave.
Well, just so our listeners
heavy
know,
on the sarcasm there, y'all.
Just so everybody knows that I am the most important person in your life next to JC. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't rank higher than the dogs or the cats, but as far as people go, I'm up there.
But Billy Schrader was this guy that he'd been throwing for a bunch of years in town, and he got me into the Highland Games, which obviously has made a huge impact on me. More than that, Billy Schrader was also the guy that started the Green Hill Highland Games 11 years ago. I didn't start it. All this stuff that really happens like in our region now, basically I learned from Billy and it started from him. Everybody kind of has like a coach, or at least for the most part, everyone has some type of mentor in life that we look to, or the kind of guys that start. And you know, for me, Billy was that guy. He put on the first Highland Games here in Roanoke. And then also he was the first to do, you know, basically, you know, what our sport that we do together is strongman. And Billy was putting on strongman events here in the Roanoke Valley as far back as like 2000, 2001. So, you know, it wasn't until much, much later that, you know, I kind of took his lead and started doing events. But Billy was really a guy that was way ahead of his time. And also, you know, he was the guy that was like, hey, you know, I'll loan you these Milo magazines. You know, read up on this, check out this. So he was a bit like me as far as pushing education and stuff. But those three things are what got me into the sport. And, you know, it's been the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life. You know, I've been very, very fortunate with a lot of, you know, meeting a lot of wonderful people and things, but I owe everything, all those good things to strength sports. And, you know, a lot of that just stems from, you know, my relationship with Billy Schrader and him kind of coaching me up.
So again, he's still just below me on importance list. That's just what I take from that to make sure.
It's all about perspective, Dave.
Right. And, you know, my perspective is I'm definitely better. So it's okay. But no,
everyone has different perspectives.
Billy's done a lot for strength sports in Virginia. And then you've taken that lead and you've done a shit ton for strength sports in Virginia and across country and into the world.
I'm not going to talk about what I've done, but well, you know,
that's kind of the idea why you're here. I'm just throwing it out there for
I'm
you.
trying to shed light on others. You know, the thing is, you know, I always say hey, I walk in a lot of other great people's footsteps. You talk about Virginia. Billy's done tons of great things here for the state. And first of all, I'm very proud to be from the state of Virginia. It's amazing the number of great strength athletes all across the board that the state's produced. Earlier today, you were our good friend Patrick Rogers' house. Pat is someone else, nothing but respect for. That guy was doing everything years and years ago, putting on strongman events. He's now the vice president for Strongman Corporation. I remember going down to the old Martinsville High School, seeing the old Fatbacks contest.
It's funny that Pat and I had this conversation this morning. He's not the VP. He is the associate director of, I want to say he said being a bitch, but it's not. But it's the associate director of Strongman Corp.
Well, I will go on the record saying, Patrick Rogers, you, sir, are the man. And we'll live with that. But again, being from Virginia and Pat being close by, he was someone that, I looked up to and respected. And that's not even saying what his accomplishments as an athlete, but just his accomplishments as a person, as a promoter, and doing so much to grow the sport of strongman right here in the state. Our other long time state chair is Chris Lawyer. Again, to me, it's like, you really can't say the word strongman in the state of Virginia without mentioning Pat and Chris.
Or Paul May either.
Yeah, Paul May's the same way. And Paul's just an off the charts individual and athlete.
He was doing stuff at 50 that guys
I wish
30,
I wish I had half the talent that guy had.
Yeah.
But Chris has done so much with the weight room, with promoting all strength sports. He's a great coach for Olympic lifting, for powerlifting, for strongman. He's just an amazing guy. John Shiflett is another person from the state of Virginia. John really helped me out with powerlifting when I was getting to that. And John, to this day, is someone I still correspond with all the time. I look up to, I admire, I respect. And in a lot of ways, the way I go about things, I really try to model after him. Also, being, as we're both state Strongman Corporation guys, Stella Krupinski with Brute Strength Gym. I think she's been running stuff down there for 12 years. In strength sports, if you run something for 12 years, that's a long time. Yeah.
That's an eternity.
It is. That's kind of like in dog years, that's like 80 some.
Yeah.
But Stella has done a lot for the sport, not just strongman, but, she's put on Highlander events. I've helped her with a lot of those over the years. She's put on powerlifting meets. So coming from Virginia, one, I'm very proud, but I also had a lot of great role models. So it's definitely, when it comes to, the state of Virginia, it's not about me. It's about all the people that really paved the way. I just got lucky, right place, right time kind of thing. But those people paved the way, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Virginia itself has had a very, very long history of great athletes and great people come out of it. But then somehow Nova's still attached to it. I don't get that. That really should be its own state. Or
get me the hell out of there.
Or maybe it could just separate and be its own little country with some walls around it would be super. We could just take the 405 and just get rid of all of that. And then, 50 miles outside of the 405 all the way around? Sounds good?
I'm fine with just staying in my part of the state, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying we just get rid of that part, though. We just build
make
a big
it part
wall.
of Maryland. I mean,
Yeah, nobody likes Maryland anyway.
No, exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing good in Maryland. I used to live there. There's nothing good in Maryland.
All those Marylanders that left, like 100,000 of them, they all came to Northern Virginia.
Yeah, so just
Part
give
of
it
the
back.
reason I left.
Yeah, give it back to Maryland because no, I'm just not. I'm not real keen on that place at all. The last year I was there, it was just awful. I made more money than I ever had in my life, and I was poor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't afford ramen. I couldn't put gas in my car. I didn't know when I was going to eat again, but I was just raking in money. But I had not enough to pay for food. Yep. I was like, this is awful. So I'm back to Kentucky where I made 30 grand a year. And I was like, oh man, I'm high on the hog. I can travel now. I can go do shit. Like it's great. Yeah. Northern Virginia, Maryland. Yeah. No, you can definitely have it. So Bryan, what brought you to Roanoke? How did you end up in this lovely, lovely piece of real estate?
It is lovely. Running joke, Roanoke is a bowl. Did you know that? Everybody you meet here, they got to tell you that, is that Roanoke is a bowl.
My allergies tell me the same.
Yes.
A bowl?
It's a bowl.
So what is? Wait, whoa. We're gonna have to.
So you've got
we're gonna have
the
to highlight
circle
this.
of mountains going around Roanoke, Salem, and the Roanoke River flowing through it, and Tinker Creek, and all these other estuaries feeding it. So it's this sunken bowl and surrounded by this mountain chain going all the way around. So it holds in all the humidity, it holds in all the pollen. However, it's still less pollen, better air, and less humidity than Northern Virginia.
Wow.
Because D.C. was swampland that George Washington founded our government on. So,
That's absolutely true.
yeah,
That place was not a good place to build, and yet somehow that became our capital.
That's
I don't
right.
get it.
Seems fitting.
yeah. So no, I had so Chad and I have been chit chatting and talking, and my wife and I are looking for something to do for a week to get away, and we like hiking, things like that. So we thought, well, let's come down, and Chad wanted me to spend a little time coaching him. And so I was like, all right, let's do a week down here. And Chad turned in from, hey, can you help coach me, to suddenly I had 10 people I was going to be coaching, holding a clinic that day. Oh, by the way, it was my wife's birthday. And she being yes, she's an amazing individual. I'm still alive. She could kill me any night in her sleep,
We all
in
love
my
you,
sleep.
Trish.
And it would be
That's right.
justified.
Absolutely.
You did that. Chad,
Absolutely.
you did that on her birthday.
Yeah.
Because I remember when JC's birthday happened, and I just stayed away. I was like, it's a
Now-
good idea. Just be gone.
He did go and get balloons and tie them to her chair for her birthday, so she could sit at the field when I was coaching, doing the clinic on her birthday. So
She is little. You didn't get like big balloons because they'd probably make her float away.
that's well, it just was a few.
Okay.
If it had been 10, she'd definitely be flown out.
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining like a Mary Poppins kind of situation
Yeah.
where she just flies away and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but now after spending a week here hiking and meeting everybody and meeting people, everybody's incredibly friendly here. Chad was really doing a lot with the strength sports, and we had made a decision we'd already decided we were going to be moving either here or East Tennessee, just because we loved East Tennessee, thought it was beautiful, and we loved this area too. And so we were just him and Han trying to figure out where we wanted to move. And we, talking with Chad and coming down here for a few competitions, Green Hill, and meeting people, more people down here. We just thought this is where we want to come. Everyone is incredibly friendly. The strength community is strong down here. The whole community is really. It's something I haven't experienced as far as a whole community pulling together to try and help each other out. When people find out that you're new here, they're happy to sit down and spend 15 minutes telling you about, do you want a name for a plumber, or do you want to know where you want to go get food, or anything like that. People are happy to sit there and give you recommendations and spend time with.
I know a little bit about food, Brian.
Yeah, you do, and you've been my primary lead on that. But I have a few other people told me a few things. But just everyone is really friendly and outgoing, and they spend time, willing to spend time with you, talk about the Roanoke area, and to help you settle in and acclimate and enjoy yourself here, and then see the investments going on, like with Explorer Park and some of the other parks in the area, and what they're trying to do to revitalize the community. Having come from West Virginia, where I know it's like when industry moves out and it takes forever, if ever, for it to recover. And I see, this rejuvenation going on with Roanoke, and they're bringing young people are moving in. That's a big thing. So I love that fact that you have an outdoor community, you have friendly community. It's easy to get around. One park ranger at Explorer Park said is that bad traffic in Roanoke is you have to sit at a light a second time for a second red light, and versus, as you know, in Northern Virginia, as soon as the first snowflake hits, it takes you 3 hours to go 10 miles.
You made it that far? Were you on the sidewalk? Because I could not make it 10 miles in 3 hours. There was no way.
So it's just.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This segment is brought to you by Bull Strong. Bull Strong is an apparel company started by a good, close personal friend of mine named Bull. Now, I'm here to tell you about what Bull Strong really is. Bull Strong's a mentality. It's a belief that you can do anything
You've trained your mind as hard as you have your muscles. You believe in yourself and you know your own potential. You're the type of person who stands up for what you believe in. You do what you say and no one doubts it. To be truly bull strong, the word quit is not in your vocabulary. If you're listening to this and you instantly thought that fits your description, then support our brand. Proclaim to the world you are indeed Bull Strong. You can access Bull Strong on Facebook. Just go and search Bull Strong. He'll pop right up. You've got Bull Strong Apparel. It's bull-strongapparel.com. To put it simple, Bull Strong's a company that don't suck. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This segment has been brought to you by Gorilla Strength Equipment. They build the equipment that we all use. They take great pride in what they do and believe wholeheartedly that things worth doing are worth doing right. Everything they send out, they're proud of, and every single item that comes out of that shop has a lifetime warranty. Just as important as producing heavy-duty quality equipment is providing top-notch customer service. Their number one purpose in life is to make a difference by helping people. Their goal is not to make a transaction with a customer. That doesn't mean shit. It's to create relationships, build friendships, and help people achieve their goals. The home gym craze is really just gone crazy. People aren't wanting to go pay 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks, to go to a gym and spend, several hours of their life there. They're trying to do it in their home. They're trying to do it in the garage, trying to do it in the basement. They're just trying to get it done. So this is a place you want to go to. Gorilla Strength Equipment will make just about anything. The creative mind that David Dennis has is unfathomable. I've helped him design stuff myself for strongman events. You might have seen our equipment at Mammoth Strength Challenge. You might have seen it at Kentucky Strongest. You might have seen it at the Arnold Amateur World Championships. Last year, we just used the Bubba bar as the axle deadlift for that championship. Now, we were able to load that bar up to over 700 pounds. There was no flex. None whatsoever. And we still had enough room to put another 400 pounds of bumper plates on there. See, they make great stuff. You need it. I need it. I use them all the time. I've got hubs. I've got axles. I've got bars. I've got grip stuff. Everything that you could ever need from Gorilla Strength is there. You need to contact them and let them know. Now, we're running a special deal for you. If you're listening to this podcast, if you use the coupon code H2OCAST, that's H2OCAST, when you do your checkout, you can get a Bubba bar at the low price of $120. And that's shipped. That's everything included. That's called you spend $120 and it's going to get delivered to your house. That is fantastic. You're not going to find another deal like that. Now, these are the same bars that we used at the Arnold Championships, the Amateur World Championships. We use these bars. They're fantastic. So if you go online, you go to gorillastrength.us and you use the coupon code H2OCAST, it's H2OCAST, then you can get these very, very, very special bars for only $120 shipped to your house. Normally they're $150, so you're getting $30 off. This is a huge discount, everybody. Go and check out David Dennis at gorillastrength.us.
Yeah, so what we thought was, what better destination than a place where people love where they live. They are investing time and money into the community and helping it grow and expand in lots of different areas, compared to Northern Virginia, where it's just a lot of small enclaves of very angry people after all the traffic they deal with and the stress at work and everything else. This is the perfect place for us to come. So that's why I wanted to come down and settle here, and we love it.
Yeah, I feel like JAG could moonlight as the tourism commission.
Absolutely.
And not just for Serious Steel, because you try to get more people to move here than anybody else does.
Hey, man, like so, I no shame in that, man. I'm very proud of being from here. It's my home, and man, I want to make it the best I can be.
Because you've asked me to move here no less than 10 times.
No, I know. Well, it's not just you on that list, Dave.
Oh, I know, because I know you do that same treatment to everybody, trying to get everybody to move to Roanoke.
But hey, there's nothing wrong with one of your friends close by, man.
No, I completely agree, because I hate having to drive 8 hours to come see you guys. But I still do it, and you always come and visit me, and you're there. Hell, we were talking about this at the wonderful Long John Silver's, and if y'all are listening, I could use another sponsor from Long John Silver's, just saying. But we were there, and you were like, I was like, you've been there at least 6 times. You're like, way more than that. I was like, twice a year, 3 years. Yeah, 6 times. Then you started bringing up like Chicago and all the other trips that we've taken, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. You do come down a lot more than that. Oh,
We
shit.
take a lot of trips together, Dave.
We do, and it's always a good time, man. It's always fun because when we drive, you lay in the back and sleep.
That's what I'm good at, Dave.
Yeah, that's pretty much you in a car is in the back and sleep.
That's my story.
Yeah, because that way you don't have to drive.
Exactly.
That's really what it's all about. So, but I feel like all I do is drive anymore. I'm at 1,200 miles for this weekend, just coming to do podcasts, and I've got another 400 to go to get back home. So, and then tomorrow morning I'll get up and I'll drive 500 miles tomorrow, but not for the podcast, just for work. So it's kind of the way it goes. I end up just traveling all the time, but I also love it. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But you try to rival me on how much you travel. You just get to take more of those international trips. So talk to me a little bit about Moss, how you got into it, where it all came about, and then that's actually the connection that you and I had the first time to meet. But tell me a little bit about that and where it's taken you in the world.
First of all, it shocks me that we even made it past that first encounter.
It does.
Because anybody that knows me knows my love of air conditioning.
That says a lot to your character, and to forgive me for my air conditioner being flooded from the torrential rains that we had when you came to visit me. So,
And at the time on that trip, if you remember right, I thought everybody in Kentucky was rich because they all had fishing ponds in the front yards.
yeah,
Little did I know that was actually flood damage.
yeah, all of that was just flooding, and one of those ponds came up underneath my house and kicked off the AC, and it did not work for 4 days. Conveniently, you were only there for 4 days.
Conveniently.
It was fixed the day you left, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. But I didn't plan for that. I did get another AC, but with Moss, how did you come about it? How did you find it? And where has it taken you in the world?
Well, so the first experience with it was, I guess, probably 6 years ago now. I guess it was. Anybody knows me knows I have no concept of time. It could be 5 minutes ago.
Or it could be 5 minutes from now when you arrive.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But we'll say 6 years ago, I started seeing these videos pop up in the World of Strength and on YouTube. And I thought, damn, this just looks awesome. And yes, it's the fringest of fringe sports, but I'll get more of that here in a bit. That year, Ode brought Moss to the Arnold. And again, he pulled out all the stops. He had Mark Felix there. He had our good friend and an all-around super great guy, Steve Schmidt, there. Clay Edge and Phil Brown before he passed?
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there because
Okay.
I'd never seen. He was such a monster. He definitely stood out. But all those guys were there doing Moss on the little side stage there at the Arnold. And at that point, I met Ode and kind of expressed my interest in it. And Ode gave me his business card. And, from there, we started corresponding back and forth. And eventually, things just clicked. We became really good friends. And, the next thing I know, I'm traveling to Steve Schmidt, Steve Slater's place to compete, contest they put on. And that was my first taste of the actual competition itself, being an athlete in it. I was like, wow, this is really fun. Next thing you know, I'm seeing Ode at an event out in California, or excuse me, in Vegas at the time. He's like, hey, I'm taking this group of athletes to Kyrgyzstan, which at the time was a country I never heard of. But I said, yeah. I said, sounds like a good time. I'm in. It'll be fun. That's my other catchphrase. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
My wife, who's definitely another unsung hero in the world of sports. People have no clue how much she does to help others, other people, other athletes, other events. I'm not even going to go into details, but like I said, she amazes me at her givingness and how much she does to help all of us out. Because you're behind the scenes with things. But my wife was asked to be the team doctor, and we went to Kyrgyzstan to be part of the Nomad Games, which was basically what they term as an ethno sport or ethnic sport festival, basically in Asia, former Soviet satellite nation. And that was my first taste of anything international as far as the world of strength goes. And it was the most eye-opening experience ever. We had 32 different nations there that first year. And with those nations, I hate politics and I hate politicians, and I live in a bubble. I don't watch the news and stuff like that. But we had Russians there. We had Indians. We had Pakistanis. We had Muslims. We had Christians. We had throw the whole mix into a bowl, and that's what you got. The thing is, with string sports, none of that shit matters. What we had was 100 plus athletes who became really good friends. And that's one of the things that draws me to monster wrestling is the people. You have so many different backgrounds, nationalities, cultures, the whole 9 yards. Strength is one thing that really it brings people together. You don't even have to know the other's language. You can still communicate perfectly fine just with gestures, Google Translate nowadays, so many other things. And it was such an eye-opening experience. I was like, wow, man. I was like, I always want to be a part of this. So whatever I could do to help Ode out and to help grow the sport. And it's been painstakingly hard trying to do so. But each year, it's kind of like a lot of things. It just grows a little bit by little bit. And, I'm good with that. Growth is growth. Slow growth is better than no growth at all. Mm-hmm. But just with this one fringe sport, it's taken me to, like I said, we went to Kyrgyzstan. I've taken athletes to Finland to train to prep for the Arnold before. My good friend Juha, who's one of the greatest ambassadors for sport, opens up basically his training hall to anyone that wants to go there. He's had people from all different nations come over to train.
Where's he at?
Juha is basically in a small village, probably about an hour outside of Helsinki.
So Finland.
In Finland, that's correct. Yeah. So I've taken athletes there. We went to go see all our good friends last year up in Canada for the North American Monster Wrestling Championship. Huge shout out to all my Canadian friends. Canada is, if you ever get a chance to go to Calgary, Alberta, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. Canadians are known for their friendliness, and there's a good reason for that. They are just that great of people. We had the greatest time up there. The place did not have air conditioning. That was a downer, but everything else is great.
Well, see, I'm going to try to plan a trip up there, I think in the winter, because I know they have heaters, so I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to make it.
We've been to Russia twice with Moss Wrestling. Both times, amazing experiences. I love it over in Russia. We've been to Hungary. I can't think of all the other trips that Ode has made. Actually, I can't think of a lot of trips because my brain is pretty dead. But literally, it's just a small friend sport that's got to take me all over the world. And the friendships I've made, absolutely love. The funny thing is, you got 24 hours in a day. So here in the USA, most things, unless you're me, kind of wind down at midnight. At midnight, my phone kind of usually starts dinging. So 7 hours time difference between here and Finland. So usually about midnight, I'll get the text message or a Facebook Messenger post from my friend Juha saying, "Hello, good morning, Chad," because they know I'm all up all night anyway.
That's right.
And next thing you know, maybe you may be getting messages from friends in Hungary or from friends in Russia, but elsewhere overseas. But it's like it changes your whole time cycle because now it truly is a 24-hour day because you have pretty much friends through sport in all the time zones. It makes life very interesting. Again, seeing all these different cultures, and Moss Wrestling has really been a vehicle to take me all over the world, meeting people and stuff. And I've never been to college. Don't feel like I missed out. Feel like I got a great education just through string sports and all my traveling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And with that 24-hour day for Chad Clark, just so everybody knows, this is a good public service announcement for you. Don't try to call him before noon because he ain't up. It just ain't gonna happen. But after midnight, it's totally fine. So just so everybody knows that going in, before noon, nah, bruh. After midnight, totally fine.
Dave's not lying on that. I'm not a morning person at all.
Yeah, just don't do it. He's come to my shows and be like, "Hey man, what time does the show start?" And I know it starts at 10. I'm like, yeah, it starts at 9, bro, on the dot. And then he'll show up at like 9:06. All right, man, I'm ready to judge. I was like,
But I'm
good.
always there.
Yeah, he always makes it. He's never missed out on making a show. But I know Chad Clark time, and CC time is very, very similar to CP time, in that he's going to be late. It's just going to be a thing, and I'm okay with that because now I just adjust my clocks. I live on Central Time, so I give him those, and then he just doesn't do math, so it all works out. And then Chad
Well, the
gets
important
there.
thing is I'm always there.
That's right, and I do give you credit for it. You always show up, but you know when to show up. Right as we're starting, because you ain't trying to waste no time.
You're just being efficient.
That's right.
I'm very efficient, Dave.
Yeah, there could be.
Thanks, Brian. I will use that from now on.
Very, very efficient. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's,
I manage my time wisely, son.
yes, it's good allocation of time.
Yeah.
Time management. That's what it is. So,
And the one thing I forgot to tell you about Moss is, again, beside the crazy travels we've done with it here in the States, with the years when we took it to the Europas, the Fit Expos, which we've done all over all the U.S. This year we're getting ready to go to Poland. So I mean, the world tour is going to continue right on along.
what are those tickets to Poland? I might want to go.
When you buy the airfare in advance, it's not that bad. They're like between like $700-800.
That's not terrible. I mean, I can maybe swing that.
But Poland's a country I've always been fascinated by. Look, I'm not gonna lie, I love Polish food.
Who doesn't? I mean, if you don't like Polish
Yeah,
food,
yeah,
you're not
exactly.
American. So you need to leave this country if you don't like Polish food.
But but I love the food. I have a lot of Polish friends, so I've always kind of known little bits and pieces about the culture, and it's a place I've always wanted to go. And again, monster wrestling is a sport where it offers you those type of opportunities, to travel, and Ode's done an amazing job, over the years with not only just bringing the sport here, but anybody that knows Ode knows that he's such a great ambassador for so many things. I also work with him, what a lot of people don't realize is with Arm Lifting USA. He's done that. He's constantly promoting the sport of strongman. Ode is just, he's an unstoppable force. I've told you this before. Ode is roughly 20 years older than me. I can't keep up with the guy,
I can't.
But to me, guys like that are inspiration to me. I hope I can be doing half as much stuff as what he's doing at his age, or
I want to do half as much stuff as he does right now.
yeah, exactly. But to me, really, those guys that have these amazingly long careers and longevity, you really got to look up to. And the guys giving so much back, to sport, not just bringing other sports here, but putting a lot of things that necessarily wouldn't get into the spotlight. And that's one of the things I really like. And again, I'm very proud to call Ode my friend. Again, he served as a mentor to me on a lot of things. Sounding board for a lot of ideas. I'm just thankful to kind of go on a lot of these crazy journeys with him. That he's taken me with on the years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I try to get out to the training hall as much as I possibly can. It's always a fun time out there, and we'll go in, and it always turns into some sort of grip contest, because that's what you do at the training hall, is you turn it into some sort of contest. And we'll be down there, and we'll get to lift in, and I tend to have a really decent grip. Worldwide, I'm actually pretty good, oddly enough. And we'll go through the whole process, and I'll get to close to that max, and it'll be like, it's a really good weight. That's like a world-class weight. That's really good. And then I'll finish up, and I dropped the last one because that was my PR, and that's what I did. I'm like, all right, man, I'm really proud of myself. This is really good. I'm really happy right now. And then Ode starts to get up, kind of hobbles over a little bit to where the bar is, and picks it up as his warm-up and does like 10 reps. And then it just crushes your soul, because that upper 1% is so far ahead of the next 1% that it's like not even a contest. It's not. Why do I even show up every time? It just hurts my soul. But every time I go, I'm a little better. So someday he will decline, and then I'll beat him. I don't know.
It probably won't happen, Dave.
Maybe when he hits 90, I can do it, and I'm only 21 years away from that. Maybe I won't be on the decline already.
So you're gonna be proud to be a 90-year-old man.
If it's Ode Haugen, absolutely, and anybody should be, because how many people have beat him? Not many, not many at all. So I mean, that's someday I will beat him.
Story time here, real quick. So we have this friend Dennis, and Dennis is an awesome guy, and Dennis runs a grip shop in Moscow in the basement of like this high rise. Now I can't tell you the name of Dennis's grip shop because it's all in Russian anyway. But it's a great shop. It's one of those places. If you're involved in the world of strength and you're in Moscow, you definitely need to go to it. It's very cool. Dennis is the most nicest guy you ever meet, and his shop is just like any strength/grip athlete's like playground. So anytime you go in there, there may be like other international people just kind of popping in, because that's really the kind of the way that Moscow is. And I've went there with Ode on several occasions, and it's always funny because Dennis will be like, he has all these inch dumbbell replicas, and he's always like, him and Ode are really good friends, but they're always kind of messing with each other. And he'd be like, Ode, can you still do the inch? And of course Ode, just walks over and does it cold, and Dennis like, wait, let me go get my video camera, But we've been there at times where, and my grip is crap, but I love it. It's just another fascinating aspect of strength, and I encourage all people to get involved in grip, no matter what strength sport you do. It's going to help you out, and
even if you don't do a strength sport, it will help you out.
Yeah, and that's exactly it too, man.
I've got friends of mine that are shooters. They do 3-gun all the time, and they'll tell me, "Oh man, I'm shooting a little to the right." I was like, "Improve your grip." They're like, "Well, how? I can't squeeze it harder." I was like, "No, but if you improve your grip, you'll be more stable. You'll have more muscle mass there." And they're like, "Well, I don't want to look like you." I was like, "I don't want you to look like me either, because that would be a lot of plastic surgery. That'd be tough on you, and you can't look this good." So when I tell them, I'm like, "Hey guys, just improve your grip." They start working on it just a little bit. They work a little bit of flexors, a little bit of extenders, and they start shooting better. They're a little bit more accurate. They've got a little bit more stamina.
Yeah, the contests we put on. We've had guys who are mountain climbers that came in.
Oh, those dudes are disgusting.
They're unreal athletes. Arm wrestlers. I mean, there's so many people who can benefit from a great grip.
Yeah.
But
mom at home can benefit from a grip.
Yeah.
Because then when she's carrying in groceries, she can do them all in one trip, like you're supposed to do, like a true human.
All right, I'm not touching that. But back to the story, Dave. Let's stick to the story.
Okay.
But there's been times where we'll be in the shop, and next thing you know, someone comes in from another country. And then all of a sudden, this whole like impromptu fun like grip contest breaks out. We may be doing like a Rolling Thunder, maybe doing like a hub or something like that. But inside the shop, it's always some type of contest, informal and impromptu, but just for fun. Like the last time we were in there, I think we had like 5 different nations represented. In this little teeny shop in Russia, because we had our friend Tim O'Shea from Australia was with us. Our buddy Rodrigo from Uruguay, over from the U.S., Russians. I can't think of where else we had represented, but literally, like on any given day, you could possibly have like multiple nations represented. And again, some of the people can't really speak English, but it doesn't matter.
It's okay. They look at you and they go, "These guys, they can't even speak Russian." So what the hell?
But it's strength sports, so it doesn't matter. It's like you still like wave a 5 kilo plate for the next jump, and you get the thumbs up or the thumbs down, to add. But it's just a cool experience. Again, it's just anytime you get to travel the world and meet people and see cultures is great. And like I said, and Moss has really given me the opportunity, to do that and stuff. And like I said, we'll be going to Poland in November. I know we're really trying to push to have a great team. So if anybody out there is interested, please contact me. Please contact Ode, or send a message, or contact you, Dave. You're another great ambassador for the sport.
I'm not saying that I haven't trained some of the best guys that have ever
that's
through,
true.
But just throwing that out there for you.
And ladies, we can't forget Mary Kane.
Yeah, you cannot forget Mary Kane. That's not possible. She actually just did a bodybuilding contest this weekend, and then come the 1st of September, she's going to be doing Strongman Nationals. So she's all over the place, and does well at everything.
She's a phenomenal athlete, and also one of the coolest people you ever meet, man.
Absolutely. She's great people. Her and her husband Jamie are just some of the best people that really I've ever met in my life. and I'm lucky enough to get to go to their house next weekend and do a podcast with them.
I was about to be on your podcast here real soon.
Yeah, so I have a very illustrious list of amazing people that get to be on this podcast. So I want to jump over real quick. Bryan, where has Highland Games taken you, and what other sports have afforded you travel to be able to go see cool parts of the world?
Highland Games, I've competed several times in Scotland. I've done, as far as California, I think one summer.
Wait, let's go back to the Scotland part.
Yeah.
How is it? How is that? Like, that's Mecca for Highland Games. So, like, how is that? I mean, that's got to be a different kind of experience.
It's awesome, but it's also really different if you've come from American or even Canadian Highland Games background, where we have really large crowds. The fourth largest Highland Games in the U.S. is I think it's it might be Grandfather Mountain this year, but it's about 100,000 people. You go to Scotland and the Braemar Games, you might get 5,000 people. So the size of the games here are massive. The intimacy you get with the crowd there, and it's good and bad, is phenomenal. So we were throwing it at the Mull Games in Tobermory. Great games. You're on top of a hill overlooking Tobermory, the Bloody Bay, where there's a battle between the McDonald's and the McLeans, and just all this history.
Wait,
and
the McDonald's clan, not the McDonald's restaurant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the
wanna
McLeans would
clarify
have slaughtered the McDonald restaurant.
I don't know, man. Ray Kroc was he was a pretty vicious guy, man. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Founder.
I have not yet.
I highly recommend you watch that. Michael Keaton is a phenomenal actor in that movie, and really just
Awesome.
epitomizes the evilness and the loveliness that is Ray Kroc. Because you love him, and you're like, man, this guy's great. And you're like, that son of a bitch, he fucked those poor McDonald's guys over hard. And you get to see it all unfold. But
Sure.
McLeod's or
Yeah.
McDonald's, McLean's. Yeah.
So this great historic, beautiful setting. The ground's perfectly level on top of this mountain, and you're throwing inside of a track that most people could probably heave a light stone from one end to the other as far as the width goes, and you're inside that throwing the hammer, the weights. So we had to time our throws. For the hammer, for example, when they're running, we had to wait till the runners went past our end of the field before we could throw the hammer again, because there's a few of them that would fly off into the lanes where they would be running, and you didn't want to take out a runner. At least there they didn't like that. But
I think that'd be kind of cool to see that. Is there video of a runner getting hit by a hammer?
There's
We might need to search for that later.
Yeah, I
wanna see that.
think I've probably come up with a couple. But so the whole town of Tobermory is about 1,000 people. They show up, and they're just right there with you. I mean, they're right on the edge of the field. It's a small field. They're doing all the track events, which we don't do at our Highland Games. They also do the jumping events, what they call a hop, skip, and a leap, rather. We call it triple jump now. They're doing this standing broad jump and all of those things. So they do the light events as well as the heavy events. And the light events are the jumping, the pole vaulting, and things like that we associate with the field events, as well as all the running.
So I just thought that as being like track and field, like Olympic type stuff. I never tied that to Highland Games.
Yeah. So, the Highland Games, you probably know, is that the hammer in the Olympics and the shot in the Olympics comes from the Highland Games. Mm-hmm. And they just look at it as it's like a local competition for athletics. So the high school athletes come out and they compete in this, and kids can travel around and compete in the different events, different age groups at the different Highland Games. So they're doing these light events, and they're running, this track is running right around. I mean, you could reach out and touch the kids as they run. And just on the other side of that track, which is about 8-10 feet wide, is the crowd. They're right up there with you, and they're sitting there, talking with you, and it's really an intimate experience. A lot more so than competing in the U.S. It is a mecca. I competed at Inverness. It's the only place where they actually have a Highland Games field. They built a venue for the Highland Games in Inverness, right in the middle of town, right next to the Highland Clans Association where the Highland clans all meet to do business. I don't know what business they do, but
Definitely the place where I saw him on that TV show. That's got to be the one.
yeah, that's what I think. That's what I was mentioning. I think it was Inverness you were talking about.
Yeah.
Those are just phenomenal. I mean, like in Inverness, the B&B we were at was about a mile from the field where we were competing, and I would walk the mile along the Inver River, or the Ness River rather, next to the castle at Inverness, to the field to practice, and to compete. It is just an unbelievably surreal experience. And so those, if anyone gets a chance to go, if you're into the Highland Games, you get a chance to go, do it. Ryan Vera and I'm having a brain fart on his name. Anyway, two Americans went over to Scotland, and in Scotland, the Highland Games are Monday through Sunday. There's a different competition going on every day of the week in different places. So these guys will go over for 4 to 6 weeks, and probably 5 days out of 7 they'll compete. And
Wait, what?
yeah, and so the Highland Game season is pretty dense in Scotland because the summer's not very long. It usually happens on Thursday, I think, and they got to pack as many Highland Games around that one day of summer a year.
Wow. Is that the one day it doesn't rain?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't rain too much.
It's light rain. It's drizzle
right.
that day.
That's right. No lightning, just drizzle.
Yeah.
But so that was unbelievable. Pleasanton competed out at the Pleasanton Games, which again, that's probably about 150 years now. I think they've been going. Started as the San Francisco Games and moved to Alameda County, and it is a place where, first of all, it's scary as hell when you're doing the field events because they got 6 or 7 flights going simultaneously, all throwing into the center of this pretty small field. And if you're, you'll be standing there watching because you're going to shag back the light hammer, and the guy who's standing next to you is facing the other direction because he's going to take the 28-pound weight that's flying in the other direction towards you, and you agree that you're going to tug the other one out of the way if the hammer or the lightweight's going to hit one of you, and it's just that tight of a field. But you're throwing where
don't they have bigger fields there?
Not,
didn't they create golf there? Don't they have big fields?
They do, but not in the Alameda County Fairgrounds.
Expand just a little bit. Maybe bring in some dirt, maybe level it off, do some groundwork. Seems like that could just be problematic. Has anybody ever been hit by a hammer and just destroyed?
28-pound weight. I do know, I won't mention his name. One athlete had an old lady in the stands with a 28. He shanked it. One of the big mistakes people make is they think that the athlete knows exactly where he is and what's happening. At the safety briefing I give to any of the people I'm coaching is, if you're not throwing, your job is to not get hit. It's not the job of the thrower to not hit you. Right. They're throwing. They're focused on that, and you could hit a hole, you could slide, you could mess up your footing, and that weight goes flying in a direction you don't expect. So it is not safe, but people often think for some reason that an athlete knows exactly what he's doing and where the implement's going to go. But anyway, so Pleasanton is an awesome experience, and it's where you got Ryan Vieira and Matt Sanford, and Jim McGoldrick, and all these legends have competed there and won. And for many years running, that was like the standard national championships. I threw there when they were doing the International Hammer Championships. That was a pretty special treat. Seeing six pro athletes are all throwing in the 110s with the heavy hammer, which is unbelievable distance, in 130s and even low 140s with the light hammer.
So we're talking 140 feet.
Yep.
That a hammer is traveling.
Yes.
Now I've hit my thumb with like a framing hammer, and I've thrown it pretty far.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was getting close to 140 feet. There was a wall in the way, but
maybe if you hammer it, the handle was a little longer, you might have. But
yeah, maybe the turn and actually have some skill at this sport that I don't have.
Yeah,
that might help. But yeah, 140 feet.
Yeah,
with a hammer.
That's with a 16-pound hammer.
Yeah,
a 16-pound.
16-pound hammer.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening now, just go down to your local hardware store, get you a 16-pound sledgehammer with a long handle on it. See how far you can throw it. just go have fun with that.
Yeah.
Try. Let me know how it works out for you. Go ahead and do some callback ins for the podcast here, and we'll answer your questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a great venue. But it's just as much fun rolling into a town that you've never been to, like northwestern Pennsylvania. You roll in Friday night, you get up and you go, you meet a bunch of people you've never met before, and you have a great day competing all day long. And some of these venues, you only have 100 people show up because it's just, a bunch of throwers getting together, and the Highland Games there are just starting to get going, and it's usually a thrower who's kind of pushing that. But then you've got others like Grandfather Mountain or Estes Park or Celtic Classic that have 50 to 100,000 people showing up, and it's just the level of talent competing there. But then also all the different things that you get to experience there: the fiddle, bagpipe competitions, dance competitions, and then of course all the food, because me and Chad are all about the food.
Meat pies.
Meat pies.
Meat pies are good. What
Yeah.
are those Scotch eggs?
Scotch eggs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Those are like the greatest things ever. They took an egg and they wrapped it in meat and they deep fried it. I mean, does it get better than that? Is there any food that could possibly be better than that? I don't think so.
Meat pies with HP sauce.
No, negative, sir.
Actually,
So you're wrong.
deep fried Mars bars.
Oh, deep fried Mars. But
Is
see,
it-
that's more of just an American thing.
No, that's a Scottish thing. Take a Mars bar, you put it in batter, you fry it, then you cover it in powdered sugar.
I feel like that's a Texas thing because they have everything fried down there.
Well, they probably got it from Scotland. It's
No, they have fried butter. down
well,
there.
they do.
Mars bars are different over there
Yeah, they are.
because I'm a junk food connoisseur. We all know that. I love to eat some garbage. I should, when I come back in another life, I'd probably be a raccoon.
Maybe
but-
a possum. You could do possum.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as Brian was talking about, the Mars bar over here, and we could probably bring in some experts. So Dan McCalin is a true snackaholic, and I consider probably one of the top echelon experts in eating junk. You
Okay.
know. But the Mars bars over here, if I'm correct, they have nuts in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's what I like. The Mars bars, when I was over in Scotland recently, one of my friends was like, "Hey Chad, it's like," I said, "Anything to pick you up, on my way out." He said, "Give me some Mars bars." So I got him some Mars bars. Well, of course, I got hungry, so I had to start eating his Mars bars.
I mean, it had been like 5 minutes. So,
But the thing is, it's like, God, this is horrible. I was like, where's the peanuts or almonds in? I was like, this is garbage. So it's a but the Scots love their Mars bars. But admittedly, they are the inferior product to the American Mars bars. America for the win, people.
I feel like when it comes to snacks that are just bad for you, I think we win on like all counts. We
Yeah, we
created
really
the
do.
Twinkie.
Well, let me tell you this, too.
Yeah, have you ever had a fried Twinkie
That's irrelevant for the story I'm going to tell you.
or a fried Oreo?
We'll get back to the original story, but did you know, in all my travels, Highland Games took me to Iceland. And we were fortunate to stay with everyone. Everyone in the Highland Games world should know the name Peter Goodmanson, Olympic shot putter. If there's a Hall of Fame for our sport, Peter should be right up there at it. If there's a Hall of Fame for all-around nice guy, Peter should be in it.
After you.
Well, besides that, anyway, I got to become good friends with Peter's son. And as he was driving us around while we were there working this was a couple years ago for the World Masters Highland Games Championship, I was like, I forget his son's name, but I was like, is there anything, I can do for you when I get back to the States to kind of reciprocate and show my appreciation for what you've done here? And Palmy, that's his name. And Palmy was a junk food connoisseur like me. And the Mountain Dew over there sucks because they don't allow all the good chemicals that we add here. So, the Mountain Dew's garbage.
Yeah, every time I've been overseas and I've had Mountain Dew, it's trash.
So I couldn't mail him a 6-pack of Mountain Dew over there of American stuff because with the weight, it would just be too expensive. So we decided on Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. Now, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and so does Palmy.
Yeah.
So I sent in multiple boxes of that. And then our conversation went, he's like, did you know? And this is a couple years back. I'm sure it's more now. He's like, these boxes could easily go for between $60 to $75 each on the black market.
So what you're saying is, I'm going to Iceland next month.
Take as much Cinnamon Toast Crunch as you can, Dave. You'll be rich.
All right, I have an extra bag. I don't need clothes. I can buy a jacket when I get there with the money that they use to buy my black market Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Sir, why are you bringing 20 boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch into our country?
Have you looked at me? I'm fat. I have a problem. Okay, you can't discriminate against me for being fat.
But anyway, but again, in the world of like trash food, America does reign supreme. So just dropping knowledge out there.
Well, as long as we're winning at whatever it is, being the most unhealthy, we're winning.
And on that note, back to Bryan after hijacking his story.
Yeah, just stole that story. So, Bryan, if you could just pick up exactly where you left off and not have any train of thought going, and also, have you tried fried Oreos and or DMT?
No, I have not. And yes, I can pick up exactly where I was. So there I was. Okay, I'm thinking. No, I can't pick it up. No, what I say was that so every single Highland Games has like their own vibe. The ones that are the smaller games are a lot of fun as an athlete, but I will say, having drug my family all across the U.S. going to these things, is that some are better than others as far as kid entertainment. Mm-hmm. But in Scotland,
did you ever go to Kentucky?
I did.
You did do the one in Glasgow?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that one.
What did you think of that? That's the one that I've been to the most. What did you think of that one?
I like that. It's been, about 15 years since I went to it. But Ma was great. She really took care of the athletes and wanted to make sure we all had fun. Unfortunately, the last time I was there, it poured rain. So, as far as the thrower goes, it wasn't a great day. Yeah. It's one of those ones where you have all these goals when you get up in the morning and you see the condition of the field and you go, new goal, don't get hurt. And,
don't die.
That's it. Don't die. That's generally my goal in life. Mm-hmm. And not going to work, but I'll keep trying. But yeah, I like that games a lot. There was one out in Garrett County, Maryland, that was small, and at first it had a lot of things for the kids, like pony rides, stuff like that. But at a certain point, a lot of that stuff kind of fades away, and it really becomes a thrower sport, throwers event at that point. But all the ones that have the great food vendors and have the fun stuff for the kids and the fiddle and the beer drinking competition. Oh wait, that's after we compete. But the beer tents.
Some of us who attend that beer drinking competition starts before you guys are finished. I'm just throwing that out there for you.
Yeah. They're just a really great family event, is for the most part. But every single one of them has their own different vibe, and what's great about them is getting to meet a lot of these different athletes. That, I was traveling one summer doing, probably did about 20 games. Me and Drew Kirchen that summer, traveling all over, just meeting new athletes and competing and having a good time. We both were doing real well in our respective classes, and it just had a lot of fun meeting people from all over and spreading the sport. I will say is that invariably you have in some of these smaller events the really huge, incredibly inflexible, strong guy try to come out and compete in the Highland Games, and that doesn't go well because they learn that you do need to be flexible, and hopefully they get through it without a blown muscle, but that was probably about a 50-50 shot.
And then they come to strongman, and they do
okay. Then they come to strongman, they do great.
Yeah. So they're okay, because flexibility clearly is not a thing we need.
Spinning, throwing, no.
Yeah, we don't do that.
That's right.
The only throwing we do is maybe a keg over a bar.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Dave, and this goes back to a conversation me and Bryan had recently. And I know you're gonna be right on the same boat. We always talk about competing, and kind of like what you said. One of the bases for the podcast is be good or be good at it, and how you got there and stuff. And the conversation me and Bryan had the other night was, and I'm completely serious when I say this, I really feel bad for people, and I understand everybody's different, and what we do is not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. And when I say we, I mean strength athletes in general. But looking back, through the years, I feel bad for people that haven't lived kind of our lifestyles, at least at some point. Traveling to games, like what Bryan said, going all these games, he was going with Drew Kirchen, or, like with me and you go to events together, or when I'm taking athletes somewhere and stuff. It's such a great experience, and that's why I want to be. I'm always passionate about it. It's like I want other people to experience this. I mean, is it a crazy life we live? Oh fuck yeah, it is. I mean, it's nuts. It's hard to explain to other people. It's like, oh well, I've slept in this airport and it was, in Kyrgyzstan with armed guards and things like that, no air conditioning, but it makes life.
I used to work out of that airport.
Yeah, in Bishkek. Yeah.
I lived there for 4 months.
But my whole point is, I couldn't imagine living a life. I've been in this stuff for so long now. I couldn't imagine living life any other way. And you know what? I wouldn't want to live it any other way. This is, at some point I made a decision. Hey, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna roll with it. And for people that, again, I'm not knocking anybody else, but just all the great experiences we've had. Like everybody sitting here at this table. I know for a fact we wouldn't trade anything for any of those. Pretty sure none of us ever be rich, and that's cool. But it's like, what? It's like I can take, and you can't take money with you. But
So wait a minute. You've not seen a hearse with the money truck behind it?
Yeah, exactly.
You've seen it pulling that money trailer? I'm going to have that. I'm going to make sure that I have the money trailer. There might be $1 in it, but there's going to be a money trailer.
Well, you'll be the first one.
That's right. I'll make it
But
happen.
for the rest of us, you can't take, you can take your memories with you. And to me, that will always outweigh anything financial, anything like that. For better or for worse, this is how I live my life. I love it. And I'm like, I feel sorry for people that haven't been able to share these crazy experiences with their best friends. Mm-hmm. All over the world. All these experiences, we've shared. It's like, wow, man, I wouldn't take anything for. So it's like.
Well, that's another big part of what the podcast is for me. Anybody who knows Chad knows that he takes pictures. And he takes a lot of fucking pictures. We're going to get him a new phone someday.
My phone's still a piece of shit, y'all. So
yeah, we got to get that fixed. We got to solve the problem. But you take pictures. That's how you make your memories. And I've always asked, man, why do you take so many fucking pictures? Like, Jesus Christ, it's every 6 seconds with you at a show. Come on, man, we got places to go. That's why
I got a lot of friends, Dave.
That's why he's 5 minutes late, because he's taking pictures. But that's your memory. That's how you recall everything. And for me, I'm not a picture guy. There's more pictures of me with you because you said let's take a picture than there's any pictures of me that I said that.
Once the podcast over, we gotta get a group picture too.
Yeah, we do, because I need to put it on the podcast because I'm gonna start doing that. But the podcast to me is that memory. This is conversations with the greatest and best people in the entire world. I know we're only on like episode 8 right here, but man, this has been some of the greatest time of my life. Is sitting down and talking with great and interesting people like you guys, and that's what it means.
Hey man, we'll all agree. One of my other sayings is, life is short, do it kilted. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, life is short. How many people do we know in string sports just in the past year that have passed?
Too many.
Way too many. These are people we all look up to and respect. And it's like you wish they'd be around forever, and then they pass, and then you realize, wow, man, life's fucking short.
Yeah, and next year it'll be just as many.
Yeah,
and the year after that, just as many again.
And that's my whole thing. It's like, man, life is short. So it's like, I encourage anybody, get involved in string sports. Go out there, compete, live, travel, make friends, see the world, do things. Open your mind to, all this great stuff that's out there.
Mm-hmm. Be good at being a good friend, and get better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. So, Bryan, if people want to find you because they want a great coach here in Roanoke, how do they go about doing that? What's your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, all your fun things? Because I know you're a young guy, you have all that.
Yeah, I've got Facebook, and I've got email. So the Facebook, Bryan Bryan McClain McClain. You'll see a picture of me standing there with my miniature wife, me and the Celt. Also McClain BE Bravo Echo at gmail.com if you want to email me. I actually do taking people's videos and watching them. So if you want to email me a video, I can watch it and give you some feedback online about that. Happy to do that stuff. Sometimes things get busy, like we got Green Hill coming up, so maybe a couple weeks before I can get back to you, but I'm happy to do that stuff. So that's how to get a hold of me.
Are you going to be competing at Green Hill?
No.
No.
My competing days are over.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be out there helping, doing some judging, helping out Chad.
Yeah, meeting with the vendors.
Yeah, he's going to put you to work. You have no idea the amount of work you're going to have to do. This
No,
dude,
no, that's just you, Dave.
you're
Yeah.
slave driver. Oh, wait. That is me. Yeah, that's what I do. I work my friends to death at a show, but I put on quality shows. And I couldn't do it without my friends. So there's no way. If Chad didn't come to my shows, they just wouldn't be that good.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. And if a big shout out I have to make, because he doesn't listen to the podcast, he doesn't go to the gym, he doesn't care about lifting weights. But Robert the Machine Wilson, absolutely, I couldn't do any of this shit without him.
Don't forget his wife either, Dave.
They're not married, just so you know.
Oh man,
But they've been together for decades. Yeah, him and Flora both are just instrumental in everything that I'm able to do, even like doing the podcast, because they take care of everything at home.
Man, and they are two cool people, man.
Yeah, and he outworks me, and I've been praised on national levels for my work ethic. And that dude like makes me look lazy as shit.
Yeah, he really does, man.
So it's rough when he's around because I look bad. But I have to put that thank you out there to him, and I want to thank you guys for coming out and doing the podcast with us. Anything else you guys want to give to the public?
No, man. Just again, thank you for giving us a platform to speak, and appreciate all you do. Again, it's an honor to be here with two of my good friends, and let's see, I'm so glad and fortunate that Bryan moved here to the Roanoke Valley, and fortunate he's helping me with athletes and stuff, and really just making the Roanoke Valley a better place for strength athletes and strength sports in general. And the same again, she's not in the room, but the same goes for his wife too. She's a sweetheart, she's a saint, and she's just as big a help as he is. She's very supportive of everything. She takes great care of athletes. She's like the ultimate team mom for everything.
Yeah.
So we really got lucky when we got the combo of them.
That's awesome.
I'm really lucky I got her.
Yeah, well, we're glad that she settled. We're all happy about that, so that's awesome. But thank you guys for coming out.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.